Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Today Show. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, your host, and my co-host today, Sylvia Somerville. Good morning, Sylvia. Good morning, Sylvia. I believe you're muted. We're having a little, there we go. How's that? There we go. A little technology there. Good morning, Sylvia. My co-host this morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Dr. Laurie. I'm fantastic.
Okay. Can you hear me okay this morning?
I can hear you just great. Thank you very much.
Okay. You're welcome. Well, you know what, Sylvia? This is our last episode for 2024. We put 160 episodes in the can since May 1st. Not even a full year yet. I'm so impressed with ourselves. So thank you for being part of that.
Thank you. It's been fantastic, and it's been a great time, actually. I very much enjoy it.
Yes, it's fun being on the air once you get used to it, you know.
It is.
We're streaming live right now on my Facebook page, Laurie Davis, and also on our YouTube channels, Laurie Davis Show Host. And please, chime in with the Facebook page, the Disability Channel, because that's our mother station here. And we always want to put shout outs for the Disability Channel who brought us to the platform. So we really appreciate that. And I sent a post out yesterday expressing all of my gratitude to our viewers, our guests, our co-hosts, our guest hosts, and everyone who contributed to the show in 2024. It's been quite spectacular and amazing. And I've met the most wonderful people from all different kinds of communities. So I'm just really grateful to everybody that helped us out this year. So we started a talk a week ago on 10 ways to raise confident children, 10 ways to create confident children. I love that. All the different things that we can do to support our kids in the world that we live in today, because they're going to need absolutely everything we can give them. So let's talk about that. We had a little conversation about that, Sylvia, before the show, because what I've discovered is a lot of people have this idea that they're still raising kids in a way for a world that no longer exists. It doesn't exist like it did for you and I in our generation. It's a totally different platform. So I'd love for you to share your thoughts on how we're in the middle of a revolution. Over to you.
Thank you, Laurie, and you're absolutely correct. If you think back in history, there's always been a type of revolution. The one I'll refer to as the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution came, there was everything was in turmoil. Nobody knew, the value of your dollar. Everything was going crazy because the world was changing from coal and oil into a better platform for people to have a better life. Now we are moving from this generation into a revolution, technological revolution. Now that's a hard word.
Yeah,
and it is, because everything is going to be computers and everything's out in cyberspace. And the kids today, we can't raise them the way we were raised. We are almost lost as adults here. We are in the middle of this technological age, and it's really difficult for us to maneuver and find our way through it. So we have to teach these kids how to begin, they're going to make a living, the fields they should be studying. It's not our world. It's a different
Mhm.
world coming up,
Mhm.
different world, and we need to prepare them.
Yes. Well, we were talking about bullying and how we need to reduce the risk of that. Somebody challenged me on that. I made a statement just out there that bullies don't prey on confident children, and that's not really true. They do. And I have backpedaled on that and backtracked on that because that's correct. Because if you're really super popular and super smart and you have lots of confidence, when I really thought about it, so thank you for that comment, then yeah, you can be bullied as well. But I think being confident, having lots of self-worth, it reduces the risks. And when we talk about the technology, what are all the different ways that you know, Sylvia, of how people are being bullied in cyberspace? You talked to me earlier about an identity thing. You want to share that? Because that was really powerful.
Right. As we all know, there is so much scamming and bullying. Scamming is a form of bullying, someone trying to get money out of you or to get something out of you. And it used to be they would send text or emails and say, I'm a celebrity or whoever, a big entrepreneur, there's someone special and they need your help. Now, when they just send a text, you might fall for it. A lot of people might, and they send money. But nowadays, since AI has come into the scene, they are actually making short videos. They take a video from some celebrity or someone of importance, and you see the person's face, so it looks like that person talking. But with AI, they're putting their own words into that video. And of course, you might give them what they're asking for or the money they're asking for because you think it's the person. But it's not, it's AI. And how scary is that? Like,
So
wow.
somebody could take our pictures right here, our clip, and say you or me, and put a message out there, and people think it's coming from me, and it's authentic.
Absolutely.
Wow. So imagine our
And it can
children.
not only be,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and that message they put out with our face might not be something nice. It might be very derogatory. Yeah, that
Hmm.
might have us condemning things that we don't even know about, but the
Right.
public would think it's real.
Right.
That's
Well, I
what
have a
it's a
friend
scary word.
in, oh, it is. I have a friend in California. He's a celebrity, and he was hacked last year on one of our social media platforms. We won't say which one. And the next thing you know, the people that hacked him put porn up on his page. Okay. And then they called him and wanted a big pile of money
Yeah,
to take it down. In other words, to buy back his platform. It's crazy.
it
And this
is.
is the kind of stuff that our kids are facing. So they're in high school and somebody puts a nude picture up with their face and somebody else's body and all this kind of stuff. Photoshop is amazing, right? Oh, yeah, look at this. Somebody, I believe this might be Kathy. My family got a phone call from someone pretending to be my cousin Blair. They said that he needed bail money. Wow. All, or my mom is sick in the hospital and we can't afford the medical bills. And yeah, I've been scammed. And, at the time I thought it was legitimate. It was years ago. Okay. So in our work today, we're going to talk about some concepts that will help us to create confidence and esteem in our kids so that when they need to be really smart to know when things are right, when things are not right, or things are not real. And the Kathy said, yes, that's she said we nearly fell for it until we called Blair. Yes, always check back, reach back around, right, and find out.
Yep.
Okay, so the first thing is we're taught, what's the very first word we learn? Do you know? What's the very first
Mommy
word
and
we
Dad.
hear? Yes, mommy and dad. And one of the first words we hear over and repeated is the word no.
Yeah.
And I'm actually working with a couple of clients right now, male clients, whose parents were constantly saying no. They would say no before they even thought about what they were saying no to, because it was like an automatic response as a parent. You know, when kids ask a question, you go no, and you haven't even thought about it. Did you ever do that, Sylvia, as a mom?
That's why I'm laughing all the time.
All the time. So two things happen with that. One, it leaves the kids feeling like they're either not good enough, or they can't do things right, or you don't want to take the time to go anywhere with it, so you just say no. So it gets us off the hook. And I did that as a teacher. Can I go to the bathroom? No. Can I mark on the chalkboard? No. And that's my experience. So we learn the word no very quickly. So what I'd like to do is just recommend that when the children ask us a question, we treat it like street lights. Okay. So what are the three colors on a street light? There's red, there's amber, and there's green, right? So the only time we should really give an adamant no, in my opinion, is if there's safety involved. So I want to run out in front of that truck. No. Right? Would it be a good idea to put my hands on that hot burner? No. So that's the red light. Red light. Just for safety, though. Then there's the amber light. The amber means it's negotiable. Mom, can I go to the dance? Well, let's talk about it. In other words, who's going to be at the dance? And is there going to be drugs and alcohol? Is it supervised? It's negotiable. It's not just a straight. I remember I wanted to go to a dance once, and my mom said no. And I sauced her back, told her she didn't know anything. A friend of mine has a couple of older teenagers, and they're always, they know everything. We knew everything when we were a teenager, right, Sylvia? And I'll get this over to you in a minute.
Yeah,
we thought we did.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine put a sign on the fridge. She had 3 boys, and they were all in their late teens. And she said, now would be a good time for you to leave home while you know everything. So Amber, Mom, I want to get a mohawk haircut. We'll talk about it. It's negotiable. So if it's not life-threatening and it's not going to make a big difference down the road, it's negotiable. We'll talk about it. And then, of course, the green light represents yes. Mom, Dad, I'd like to, take 2 extra courses this year in high school. Yes. Or whatever is going to promote them. So I think about those 3 colors: red, safety; amber, negotiable; and the go for yes, green light. Absolutely. Can I have a friend over? Can we, do a picnic? Whatever. Yeah, right?
Introducing Veteran House Alliance International Monthly 50/50 Raffle. Purchase your ticket today, link on display, and have a chance to win cash and help a great platform supporting veterans.
So what do you think about that as an approach to not being the role model and being the mom, being the mentor, but not crushing them down all the time? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's an excellent plan. And I love the concept of the stoplights. Absolutely perfect. Where obviously there's a red light, meaning absolutely not.
Mhm.
But I like the fact that with the caution light, you can discuss and you should be discussing it with them.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different reasons why, but as you said, it's when you don't want to stop them from enjoying life with their friends because they're at the age where they should be and they learn so much. They
Mhm.
have to learn how to socialize and they have to learn how to say no to certain things. And I think it's an absolutely it's a good idea. There were a few examples when there was a dance, and this happened recently. It was a friend of mine, so I won't say the family's name. Anyhow, the son wanted to go to this special party last summer, and she knew who some of the people were. The mother knew who some of the people were, and she didn't want him to go. So they had a discussion about it, and they had set boundaries, and that was that. So this night, 2 hours after they had left for the party, they came back and the boy staggered into the house and he said he'd gotten beat, someone beat him up because he was after somebody's girlfriend or whatever. And they believed it. But once he got talking, they realized he wasn't, he hadn't been beat up. He was drunk and staggering around. And someone got him home because they didn't know what else to do with him.
Right.
Again, even though you talk and you discuss, you still have to be ready because sometimes they aren't ready to go into these situations. And when that happened, they could have perhaps, I don't know a good way to put it, but put him down to a point that maybe he wouldn't want to socialize anymore for whatever had happened.
Mhm.
So you have to discuss it with them how it was preventable, where he had to learn to set his boundaries.
Mhm.
He had to be able to realize that when certain things happen, it's time to either leave or, call your
Yeah.
parents for a ride, one or the other.
Right.
And
Yes.
not to extend, but to say this quickly, about a week ago, a 17-year-old boy was out with friends. He knew the driver had been drinking, but he had nowhere home. And instead of calling his parents, he got into the back seat of that car. He was killed
Yes.
because he made the mistake of getting in the car knowing the driver had been drinking. Again,
Right.
that's our cautions. We have to learn these things.
That's right. Yes, and I had a friend whose daughter wanted to go to a party, and this wasn't that long ago. And she had been a client of mine and had taken the program, so she knew about the traffic lights. And she sat down with her daughter. It was an Amber at first, and she said, "Wow, Mom, her mom had done her homework. But see, this requires time, and
Yeah.
parents don't want to take the time sometimes to do the homework. Just think about planning a holiday. And a good friend of mine, Dr. Debbie Love in California, who's a self-defense expert, she said people spend more time screening a travel agent or a real estate agent than they do screening their babysitter.
Wow.
Right? So we have to take time out. But anyway, in this situation, the daughter, it was the daughter who, after the discussion, made the comment and said, "Mom, I don't think I need to go to that party like I thought I did after our talk." So it was the daughter who put the red light on it.
Good.
And how cool is that? That tells you something about the maturity. So just be careful. Do we just say no because we have the authority, because we're the parent or the teacher, and we just say no, no, no? And then after a while, that no does not get heard because now we're desensitized. But if I know there's a possibility of a discussion or an outcome that's positive, And that's why kids don't go to their parents with their problems.
Yep.
One of the reasons is they're afraid of the reaction they're going to get or the judgment they're going to get. And another reason is if as parents and caregivers, we appear to be really stressed, most kids don't want to give you any more stress. So they back off and they go elsewhere. So that's the first one. We're just going to touch the tips of the icebergs on these. So the second thing that I like to talk about is fear. Fear, because what happens, we transfer our fears down to the next generation. So in my own situation, I had a fear of water. I still do. I don't swim. And, there was a near drowning situation that went on, and I, inherited that fear. Or maybe if you're afraid of spiders, your kids are afraid of spiders. Or so what are our kids afraid of? Maybe that'd be a good question for to ask them. What are you afraid of? So a negative experience, if they get bitten by a dog, guess what's going to happen?
Yep.
They're going to be afraid of every dog they see. And we used to laugh at my little grandson, Ronnie. He was afraid of birds. We'd take him out for a walk and he'd see a bird on the sidewalk and he'd get really kind of nervous. And we were wondering, wonder where that's coming from. But it's not anything other than, he had this little phobia going on. But maybe because the birds were moving or fluttering, but I do remember that. So what's some fears that you've had? I was afraid of water. I still am. I don't like water on my face. I don't like it in my, that's why I don't like to wash my own hair. I go to the hairdresser, so I put my head back. What about you?
Well, my biggest fear was thunder lightning storms.
Okay.
Because it was in our house when I was a child, and lightning struck the chimney of the house.
Oh, yes.
And of course, the chimney went down through the bedrooms, and anyway, there was fire and terrified me. But as I got older and I had my children, because now I had grown up, whenever the sky would start getting dark, I'd want to be in the house. I was afraid. I was afraid to be out with kids, anything. It was going to storm. So when I got older and had my kids, I thought, I am not going to let them live with this fear I've been living with. So I would, when bad storms came, even though I was afraid, I would just carry on with normal things. Because before I had the kids, I wouldn't cook in a storm. I'd be afraid, the lightning would come in. But once I had the kids, I made sure they weren't afraid. I remember my son used to like watching lightning, and I'd sit there at the living room window, not at the window, but back from the window, because it's not safe to be at the window. And we'd sit and say, oh, look at that one, look at that one. Meantime, I was shivering in my boots. But they grew up not afraid of storms.
Awesome. Yeah. So we go either one way or the other,
Yep.
And I know that, my siblings, their children swim and have their swimming badges and all this kind of thing. So we kind of went, we did, I guess the next generation, it was taken care of. But yeah, because, fear is very contagious and it rolls downhill, and we learn to be afraid of things and doubt ourselves. So fear is a paralyzer. That's just a statement that I've made in my book here. And you just gave a good example of how you didn't allow your children to see you fearful. But a lot of times we forget that if we are showing our fear, they pick up on that.
They do.
Yes.
And
all right. Go ahead.
I was going to say that also applies greatly when you get older and you're in a profession, in a job, trying to get ahead. You have to take the risks. Nobody gets successful. Nobody can become successful. Nobody can climb that ladder to the goal they're looking for unless they take risk. And if you have a built-in fear, you may never live out your dreams. You'll be afraid to try.
Exactly. All right, excellent. Well, another concept that I wrote about was the difference between enabling and supporting. So, a lot of us enabled people around us. And what that means is you allow the bad behavior to continue because you don't want the confrontation, or you have to keep the peace at all costs. And I have a little story that I wrote about that. But there's another, let's say there's two neighbors right next door to each other, and there's big trees in the backyard. So on one side, the mom is out the back door, and her little girl is up in that tree. She's climbing, and the mom yells to her, get down before you break a leg. You're going to fall and hurt yourself. And then right next door, that's building fear. And, and then the mom next door, her little girl's up in the tree, and she says, oh my goodness, look how far you went. Do you think you could crawl up one more branch? Okay, see the difference. So when we know we can do things, children will never do anything that they don't feel confident about. They won't. But if they feel confident, they will. And I think I was about 4 or 5, and I wanted to go to the store by myself and get a bag of chips. And there was no sidewalk. We lived in a house, and then it was the highway. So not a big busy highway or anything like that, but main drag. And so my mom said, yeah, you can go. And I was so proud of myself because I was walking down the highway, maybe 4, maybe 5. I didn't know, though, that my mom followed me and was behind the bushes along the side of the highway and could see me every step of the way. So, but we'll get back to that. Enabling. Supporting means I'm going to do what's in our best interest or in your best interest. And it might not be something that you like or you want. Right?
Yep.
So here's an example. John, adult John, Dad, always dreamed of playing hockey. But growing up poor on a farm, never was able to follow that dream. He was not supported. So he insisted, though, when his son was of age, that Benny would be supported to have everything he needed to play hockey. The problem arose when Benny, in his 3rd season, did not want to play hockey. John, angered by this decision, pulled his support of Benny's desire to take guitar lessons. John now enabled the hockey playing and did not support the music lessons. Benny, not wanting to hurt Dad's feelings, enabled the whole thing to keep the peace. Enabling creates hurt feelings. Support helps us move forward. I had a high school teacher. She had 3 adopted children. And then she got pregnant. And she sat her 3 children down that she had adopted to let them know that there was a new baby on the way. And one of the kids said, "Ah, shucks, I'd rather we get a new piano." So what do you know, Sylvia, of the difference between enabling and supporting? See, supporting forces us to move forward.
Well, with me as a child, as I've said before, very young, I started writing stories and drawing pictures, and my dad and mom supported me. Every time I would write something, my dad say, make sure you show me anything you write. And he actually submitted one to a newspaper when I was 7. As I've said, there's my poem in the newspaper. And all my life, they supported what I wanted. As I got married, my husband did the same. I'd say, oh, I haven't got time. You've always got time. He always supported me. So when my children were young, my son, when he was 8 or 9, he wanted to be an architect. So we made sure we supported him in that. And he liked science, forensics. So, of course, everything was geared that way. And as he got older, he continued that. He went to university. He became what he wanted to be. So it's because he he wanted this from a young child. He had the dream, and his parents, we didn't have to, but we supported him. And when he got into, it was college, not university, money was getting a little bit tough, as it would, right? And he said, I'll go to work. I'll work after school. But we told him no, because we wanted him to succeed. So we said, as long as you maintain a 3-point average, which is 90 to 100, we'll never ask you to work. So he never worked. He worked summers, mind you, for spending money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were enabling him and supporting him to be what he wanted to be. And I think that's where some parents maybe don't want to be there, or maybe they don't want to take extra jobs to pay for it. But I think it's very important to support them. All kids need support. Even adults need support.
I need support every day.
We welcome you to advertise and promote your goods and services, and or brand your logo to 34 million subscribers on Canada Talks 167. Your investment will go towards our employment programs in the media industry for persons with disabilities and veterans.
So do I.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that. And a lot of times when their dreams don't get supported,
Yep.
that does not build worthiness. It doesn't build confidence. No, your dad was a doctor and you're going to be a doctor because granddad was a doctor. Or granddad was in the army, your dad was in the army, and you're going to be in the army. That's an old school thought, but there are still people doing that. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, that's not preparing them for the world we live in right now. Because right now, our kids will probably have 10 different careers by the time it's over. We became a teacher. I didn't stay. I was one of the weird ones. But most people in our generation, when they took on a profession, they stayed in it for 35, 40 years. Oh my goodness. Just thinking about that makes me want to throw up sometimes. That could have been me because you see, there's all the trappings, but that's another day. That's another workshop. Okay. So the next way that we can build and create confident children is how we validate them. You know, I think right now, the most common name that is amongst our children is Buddy. Hey, bud. Hey, buddy. I hear everybody calling their kids Buddy, even the girls. Hey, bud. I'm thinking, were there no other name choices? They don't get called by their name. And our name is the first way that we get validated. It's music to our ears. So call the kids by their names. Hey, Mary. Hey, Bill. Hey, Betty. Whatever. Chelsea. Charlie. Whatever. Don't call them Buddy, because what you're really instilling in them is that you're their friend. And you're not their friend. You're their parent. Two different things, right? They'll have lots of friends. They don't need us for friends. They need us for mentorship and guidance and wisdom. So what do you know about that?
Have you not noticed too sure the parents say, hey, bud, and all this, but sometimes when the child gets to be, say, 12 or so, they start calling their mother John or Mary. They start calling their parents by their name, not mom and dad.
Wow.
I've seen that a lot, and I'm thinking, wow. I mean, that is just wrong. Or instead of saying, hi, Grandma, or I love you, Grandpa, they say, I love you, John, or I love you, Mike, or...
Well, some people don't want others to know they are actually a grandparent, so they say, don't call me Grammy. You know, I loved being called Grammy. It was such an honor.
I love being called, and I'm called Great Grandma now.
Yeah, that's right.
And I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think that's disrespectful.
It is, very.
And very wrong.
Yeah.
Your friends come over and you don't say, hi, John, I want you to meet my mom and dad. Hi, John. I want you to meet Mary and Joe. Like,
Well, see, that's another disconnect, right? It's all about division and disconnecting us and separating us and not
I
having
know.
that bonding, right? So we have a habit, though, of the way we validate, and we'll say things like, "Hey, Billy, you did a good job," or Mary, though, good for you. You got, you cleaned up your room. So what we do is just one little shift in that will change everything. And that's when we shift the validation from the thing to the person. So you might say, oh, wow, Laurie, I love that red. Isn't that beautiful? It's for Christmas. Instead of saying, Laurie, you look fantastic in red. You see? Because when you say that's a great red top, the top doesn't care. The top doesn't hear it. The top doesn't know it. But that's how we've been taught how to validate. So we're not validating the person. So I have a little story, and this is Johnny, and it's right in my book here. Johnny had just spent all day cleaning his room. Mom comes in to inspect. Her feedback goes something like this. Great job. That desk looks wonderful. And the bed, perfectly made. Just one thing, though, you did not dust those blinds. Better get that done. So the receiver, Johnny, how would he feel about that? How would that leave him feeling? Any ideas, Sylvia, on that?
he would be feeling completely like, did you not notice, Mom, that I cleaned the bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
I tidied the desk.
Mm-hmm.
I made the bed. Wouldn't it be great if she'd said, Johnny, you have done a beautiful job cleaning up your bedroom. You are such a excellent fellow, or you've done,
Yeah.
Put the emphasis on Johnny, not on the desk and the blind.
Exactly. Because it was like a backhanded compliment. You did this right, you did this right, but you didn't get this done, so that's wrong.
Yeah.
So that's because it's not the parents' fault. It's just that we haven't been taught how to communicate that. So the problem with that compliment was the desk got the compliment, the bed got the compliment, the work got the compliment. Johnny got criticized, you did not. There's no validation in there. None. But the mom might feel that that's what she's doing because that's what she, but that's very limiting. So here's how it should have gone. Johnny, I am so proud of you. Tell me, when did you become so organized to make that desk look like that? You have worked really hard. When you have a few minutes, could you find some energy to dust those blinds? You're amazing. That's called proper validation.
Yeah.
That one tip right there, if people are listening and you change that, whether it's a mom and child relationship, whether it's a couple in the workplace, when you're in the workplace and you're being supervised or you have a manager, I teach this to my leadership clients, my CEOs, because they have no idea how to validate. And I learned that when I was teaching, and we'd have 4 supervisions a year. The principal would come in, sit at the back of the room, write up a report. And it was never about anything we did right. It was always about what was wrong. Have you ever had that experience, Sylvia?
Who hasn't?
Right?
Some I'd like to talk about, but I'd best not.
Yeah, exactly. So just be careful about that. Always validate the person,
Yep.
regardless of the situation or the relationships.
Yep.
There's a neighbor of mine next door. He has this really beautiful truck, and there's never a spot on it. He just keeps it immaculately. And I admired the vehicle, but I said to him one day, I said, that truck, wow, you look amazing in that truck. You see the difference?
I had a little story difference when it comes to a vehicle that
Okay.
sort of reversed to what you said.
Okay.
I was at a gas bar pumping gas in my 2005 Malibu. This fella drives up in a real hot Trans Am convertible, red, gorgeous looking, and he starts conversation like, "Boy, beautiful day today." And I says, I got a good idea for you. And he says, looks at me strange. What's that? I says, how about a free trade? You take mine and I take yours.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, he laughed and he said, I worked he was not young. He said, I worked
No.
all my life to this car, and as much as I'd love to have you take it, he says, I can't. It's mine.
Oh, good for him.
We were just joking, but he
Yeah,
stood
of
up
course.
for him,
Yeah.
not about the car. It was about him.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah. Well, another area that, oh, go ahead.
I was just joking, of course.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's who I am.
You weren't joking. You were hitting on him. Come on, let's get on with it. And you were trying to use your car to do it. Okay. Can't blame a girl for that. Can't blame a girl for that.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So another area where children get all tied up and we as adults get all tied up is in this whole area of guilt. And I always said that as a woman, I was born with 2 extra chromosomes. One is called guilt, and it's like tattooed on your forehead. And the other one was on sale. So if, as a woman, if something's on sale, I got to have it, whether I need it or not. And so I think there's extra chromosomes floating around in our DNA or something. But I used to have a lot of guilt around for example, if I wanted to take a little power nap in the middle of the afternoon, I would do it, but I'd feel guilty about it. And I think guilt is, that emotion that's wrapped around making a mistake. But a lot of times when the kids make mistakes, we condition them to think that it's not okay. And we're demanding perfectionism, or we have high expectations or unrealistic expectations. And so we make each other feel guilty.
Right.
And, have you ever heard, Sylvia, people say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My gosh. Do you know anything about that?
I hear it all the time. It's and they say it about silly things. They moved your glass, you reached for it, and it's not in the same place. Oh, I'm sorry, I moved that. I'm sorry, I moved the chair. I'm sorry, I put purple flowers instead of blue. Like everything, I'm sorry. It's what are you sorry about?
Yeah, but when I hear that from someone else, I remind them kindly. Like, for example, if you're going down the aisle in the grocery store, and the aisles are narrow now, and it's sometimes you get people say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I always look at them and say, "You don't need to be sorry. You didn't do anything wrong."
Okay.
That's the only time we need to be sorry, is when we've done something wrong that hurt somebody or hurt ourselves. But if we feel guilty all the time, that affects our esteem and our confidence. And I always I think about shame, feeling ashamed of ourselves. And we, in our generation, we had parents who might have said, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself."
Yeah.
And you hadn't even done anything yet. We're 6. They're saying, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself." So when we correct the kids, when we correct them, we need to make it about the deed, not about them.
The Disability Channel would like to thank our existing sponsors. We really appreciate the support and kindness from the BIAs across the GTA, Ontario, Canada, and our friends in the USA. We love making new friends. Thank you for supporting our existing employment programs.
You stole that chocolate bar at the corner store. Well, stealing is not a good thing. And we're going to take that back, and we're going to apologize to the store owner. And then there'll be a consequence. And it's okay. You made a mistake. But you don't do it again. You learn from your mistakes. So that's all around the disciplining. And a lot of parents, I don't think, I don't know. They grew up in a generation maybe where everything was provided and no, they could do no wrong, and kind of spoiled maybe. I don't know because I didn't parent, but you did. So, that next generation, your kids are in their 50s now, but then their kids and their kids. So feeling guilty. What do you know about that? Oh, another and in this section too, we talk about name calling, labels. You're this, you're that. That's because you've got this. Labels. Very limiting, very debilitating. You're a thief. There's a label. So, hey, we've got a thief living in the house now, so put everything that you've got of value away because you never know, little Johnny might steal from your wallet. Now I have a reputation to keep up. Because we believe it when people tell us things like that. We believe our parents. They're God. So, a person in a position of authority has a lot of influence. So when we were kids, if it was our pastor or our minister or a police officer or our mom or a grandma, if they said something, that must be true. So if they told me I'm a thief, that must be right.
Absolutely right. And I found during my time as a child, the worst thing that you would be called is, oh, you can't sit with us. She's look at your clothes. You're poor. You can't sit with us. Or you're a dummy. You don't even speak right. You're a dummy. Like, you don't fit in with groups because you've been told you're stupid, you're a dummy, or you yourself realize, and children do, if in the classroom they're the only one not wearing designer clothes or things like all those things, even in high school, that does affect how they see themselves. It shouldn't, but it does. But when I look at the kids nowadays, I hope that's not designer clothes they're wearing, because you see them with jeans that there's more holes than there are pants, and tops that are like way up high. And I'm thinking, what happened? You didn't have enough to, buy a full size blouse, or.
Exactly.
But it's very important what you tell kids, even if it's one child to another child. So we should try to teach our children by our example that you should not be calling anyone stupid, dummy, or what did you do that for? An idiot? We have to teach them not to use those expressions.
Exactly. Well, another way to support our kids, and we're not talking about candy coating things or spoiling them. That's the worst thing you could ever do.
Yep.
We're talking about building character. And when they build character, that makes them stronger to handle things. So another chapter that I have is called Peace and Harmony in the home. And if you think about it, it's very interesting and timely because I just was invited to MC on January the 11th. There's a peace event coming up, and I've been invited to MC the event online. And here I am, years ago, wrote about the importance of peace in the home. Because if you think about it, that all creates chaos. And so if you're yelling all the time, if the TV is blaring all the time, people are coming and going, lots of fighting, maybe there's domestic violence within the home. This does not build or create confident children. It's teaching them a lot of bad habits is what it's doing.
Yeah.
So, and also too, stress creates illness. Mm-hmm. So we need to keep the stress down because the world is very chaotic right now. Very very chaotic. So if I don't have some mechanisms or some tools to get myself centered and get myself at peace with myself from the inside out, then I feel pretty confused a lot of the time. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. We live in a very dangerous world, a very confusing world. There are things going around that we know we can't change. And a lot of people are beginning to panic. What if, what if, what if? You can't live with the what if. You have to live in this moment. You have to be confident that right now everything's fine. I'm going to live my life normally. I'm not going to panic. People talk about, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, the world's going to end. We have to find, like you said, that peace within us. Nobody can give you that. You have to develop that within you, your peace, your calm. And my dad always taught us that no matter what, any argument or any discussion about the way the world is turning right now, you're better to be silent and go with your own feelings, and don't be stressing about things other people are making a big deal out of nothing, because you don't know what's going to happen and we can't possibly predict it. Just remain calm, find your center, just be positive and carry on.
Exactly. Which brings me, I'm going to add a banner right now because I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us. Sylvia is helping me work on my first official solo publication, 21 Days to Happiness, Joy, and Inner Peace. And I've had that product on my shelf for 20 years. So we're going to publish that as a book first thing in the new year, because it's a system, 21 days. And I've had people participate in it's all self-directed, and it's interactive, and you can work through your own levels of happiness and inner peace. So we're excited about that, Sylvia, right? That's going to be Dr. Laurie's very first book out in the new year. We've got 6 lined up to publish in 2025. So there's the first one. Well, we'll be selling copies of that right away, I can tell, right?
And
21 days.
That book is going to help so many people, including myself. It's so full of, it's just full of, it's almost like creating you all over again, but a more peaceful, a calm, a more relaxed, and a more energized person. Because when you're relaxed, you're energized. Sounds like a contradiction, but it's not.
No,
it's going to be a bestseller coming up.
Beautiful. Well, with you on my team, I can tell that's for sure. For sure, for sure.
Well, thank you.
I had a client one time. He was an undercover narcotics police officer. And he was like 6'5", big strapping guy, out shooting things up all day long, catching drug dealers and all that. And then he would get home and he'd have to sit in his car for 15 minutes to work up enough courage to go into the house, because it was so chaotic and so messed up and so stressful. Can you imagine how stressed he was at the end of the day after his career? Because our home needs to become our sanctuary for ourselves, our children, our pets, anybody that walks through that door. Imagine getting a feeling of peace and harmony. What that does for us to be able to be clear and feel good and feel safe. And I believe it's our responsibility to create a safe environment for our family. If we don't have peace and harmony in our home, how are we going to have peace and harmony in our community and in our world? It has to start there. And a lot of times people are all interested in changing the world and making a difference in the world, and I'm going to change the world. No, Gandhi said it best. Be the change you want to see. Just be that. What do you know about that, Sylvia?
You're absolutely correct. And they use that a lot. I've heard that said a lot with, you see a stray dog or a stray cat and you think, helping that one person, that one cat, that one person isn't going to make a difference. But to that one person or to that one animal, you're making a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
You're saving a life. You can't change the world. You can, but you do it one at a time. Every time you do something good for someone, including doing good for yourself, don't leave yourself out of it. Make sure you treat yourself really good as well. Because you treat you well, you have that peace and happiness within to treat others well. You know that old adage, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anyone else.
No, that's right. Effectively, that's
So
for sure.
Start with
Now,
yourself.
Yes. And we do that every day. I have to remind myself every day that I'm worthy, that I'm valuable, that I'm lovable, that I have lots to offer, I have lots to give. And Kathy said, sounds like a great book to read. Well, Kathy, I just have to tell you, it's not just about reading it. It's a working book. You're going to have to do the work that's required to read the book in the first place, because all the work is in that book. You do the work that's in there, 21 days. It's a system. And there's things that we have to do. So there's little assignments and there's little activities. And today you're going to do this and tomorrow you're going to do that. And so just to give you a little overview, it's a working book. So I'm excited about it. All right, Sylvia, can you believe our time is up already?
No, but I never do.
I know, it's the fastest hour. So I want to just close by saying thank you, Sylvia, so much for being here. And Kathy, always a pleasure to have you posting up your comments and your questions. And this is our last episode of the Today Show for me as the host in 2024. We'll be back in the new year. I've got some big plans for the show. We've got some incredible guests lined up. And you're going to see the show go in a ramped up direction. So thank you, everybody, again, and wishing you all a very prosperous 2025 and a very Merry Christmas. So over to you, Sylvia, for final greetings, and then we're done. Over to you, Sylvia.
Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and enjoying the shows. We're here to help in any way we can, to encourage, inspire, to make everyone feel better. And I hope you all have an amazing holiday full of love and laughter. And 2025 brings you everything you dream about, and you can have it if you just go after it.
That is correct. All right. Well, goodbye, everyone. Not goodbye. We will see you in the Cree culture. We will see you. There's no word for goodbye. It's we will see you. And we'll talk soon. Bye for now.
You
18 and fresh out of school, living his life and trying to be cool. Johnny's world changed with a telegram. Pack your things and don't be slow. Forbidden's where you gotta go. We're sending you to Vietnam. Saw things no one should see, all in the name of liberty. Several friends would pass away. Returned home a different man, wondering why he's alive in God's plan. Thought ending it all was the only way. Don't let him be a 22. Gave his body and soul for the red, white, and blue. When his world crashes down, he needs some help to see life through. Don't let him be a 22. Susie was an ex-prom queen. Mommy and daddy gave her everything, but her eyes were opened on that September day. She watched those silver towers fall, knew she had to heed the call. Marine Corps blues were the way. Got sent to Afghanistan, where an IED took her legs and hands, living a life with many surgeries. Times got hard and bills piled high, disabilities were denied. How can she live with these injuries? Don't let her be a 22. Gave her body and soul for the red, white, and blue. When her world crashes down, she needs some help to see life through. Don't let her be a 22. Men and women who take a stand, protecting our homeland, away from their husbands and wives, fighting their internal fights with long and sleepless nights. They need our help to live better lives. Let us be a 22. We gave our bodies and souls for the red, white, and blue. When our world crashes down, we need some help to see life through. Don't let us be a 22. Don't let us be a 22. Gave our bodies and souls for the red, white, and blue. When our world crashes down, we need some help to see life through. Don't let us be a 22. Don't let us be a 22. We gave our bodies and souls for the red, white, and blue.